difficulties. We're good? And we're back. Marcie, sorry, we had to make sure that we got everything. So you crash at Tepe.
My first day was a lot of falling, to be honest.
When you say experiment getting through the turns, like, oh, I got to grab rail for this one.
I need to throw a little bit of a slide.
Oh, okay.
I need to, like, how am I getting through this? And a lot of people told me, because I talked to several people trying to prepare myself to go down there.
I was about to say, is this like the hardest road that you've skated in an event format?
Yes.
By a lot, by a little?
I would say by a lot, because like we've done the trail races here, and I raced the BPA trail that one year. That's like super easy. It's just tuck and stay.
Tuck and don't crash.
Yeah, tuck and don't crash.
Maryhill, you've done a number of Maryhills.
Yep, I've done a number of Maryhills. And that's, everybody told me it was similar to Maryhill, but that I may need to slide, but that I could grip it the whole way.
So everyone lied to your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but I actually talked to Dizzy, and she sent me a detailed thing. She actually sent me a video of her at Tepe. And then she actually went into, this is awesome of her. She's like, at 1.26, pay attention, because you're going to want to probably throw a slide right there. And she got super detailed for me. So I watched that over and over again. But at the same time, I would watch other people's videos, and I would think, well, that looks more like my skating style, so I'm going to try and do it that way. Mm-hmm. That road will command you. You can't command that road.
Yeah, you're like, you're not gonna skate that road so well that it gets easy. Like, it's got so many turns. And when you were talking about, like, you're trying to memorize, like, as you're going up it, at a certain point, like when you were talking about, like, oh, you got to watch out for this pavement section here. My first time there, I was driving from California to Long Beach, and I was with Max Whipperman, and we like showed up at the hill, and I'm like, cool, I got like the address from somebody. I've never been here before. I've never even seen someone skate it, and we're just gonna skate it. Like, this is gonna be super fun. And it's like we're driving up, and I'm doing the same thing. Okay, oh yeah, we gotta watch out for that pothole. And then, like, you're still driving uphill for like 4 or 5 minutes, and you're just like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even remember where the potholes are. Like, I'm just gonna hopefully not fall. And then as we started skating down, we realized that some of the road had water that had frozen on it. And so Max was skating. This is in January, and like is coming around corners, like foot braking and sliding across the road. It was exciting.
Wow.
So yeah, when you talk about that road being exciting, I'm just like, I would feel super uncomfortable being around other people and skating it too.
Yeah. So I would just hang in the back because I was new to that road, and wait to go. And that's how I got caught up with somebody that was doing more free riding, stand-up slides and whatnot.
Did you catch them, or did they?
Bailed. I caught them. Nice.
That's a power move. Good for you.
So, but yeah, I still raced. I took it super chill though. I did not get competitive because I felt that if I let competitive Marcie come out, like if you watch the Maryhill races, I've gone off the edge. I've, like my one wheel's in the dirt, and I'm like, get the F out of my way. I'm coming. And I just, I had to be like, nope, you're going to play like granny down the...
This is
you're going to go granny mode down Tepe.
Okay. I was about to say, I know that you have that competitive side of you, so it's interesting to hear you talk about like turning that off a bit.
It was difficult.
So when you were down there, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
How many ladies showed up?
Oh, we had a good amount of ladies there. I would have to say that we had maybe somewhere between 13 and 15.
Awesome. That's a pretty tough road to skate. And I know that, there's probably more girls that show up at Maryhill, but it's really cool to see that scene or that road is able to get more ladies out. I know that Allison really wanted to go, and I was just kind of like, that's a bold one. Like, I think that you'd be better off at some other ones just because she likes to slide with her hands on the ground. I'm thinking of all those cracks and stuff. Like, I'm also kind of a mom. Like, I'm like, I don't want you to get hurt. And she's always like, you're being a little fish. Like, I'm going to be fine. So.
Yeah, she probably would have done, fairly well considering that she enjoys sliding and doing all of that stuff.
You guys are like the opposite. She likes to slide and doesn't like to go fast. And you like to go fast.
I want to freaking jam.
Yeah.
And so that's where I had a difficult time
controlling my speed. You can go fast on that road, and then you have to slide.
Yes. And that's what gets scary for me, because I haven't done enough sliding and drifting to feel confident that I'm going to nail it every time. So I actually tried, I do the Brazilian footbrake and then take the turn. So I was experimenting with that.
Explain that Brazilian footbrake for people who don't know.
Okay. It's where, for me, because I ride regular, I grab the front of my board and I put my right foot down on the ground and just kind of scrub some speed along the side of my board and then put my foot back on the board and continue going. So it's just get a little speed off, put the foot back on, and
but like
go.
in comparison to a normal foot brake where you're standing, the cool thing about like that Brazilian style is you're grabbing the board so you can put your foot down so aggressively. Like, I don't know if you know this, but you didn't take me out one time. I was behind you and you put that foot brake down and it slowed down so fast that I wasn't expecting it, that I just rode off the road behind you at Maryhill. And like, no one ever said anything because I'm not going to be like, yeah, Marcie crashed me out. It was like, yeah, I was coming in behind her and it was like, I'm not going to run into the back of you. And it was in the shutdown area. So like, it was just me riding off the road and running off. But it was one of those like, holy, and I remember talking about it, like that is one of the best skills you can have, because I struggle with foot braking.
Okay.
Like, very honestly, like that's one of my weaknesses. And to see you do it so proficiently is just like, I look at that and I'm kind of like very envious, because I see that as a skill that I lack. And when I see someone do it well, I'm like, that's what I like to see. So was that a helpful skill to have at Tepe?
Yeah, it's a helpful skill to have all around.
That's the truth.
Yeah. I specifically remember when I caught up to you and Morgan Owens and like a few other of the Motion Boardshop crew. This was a few years back. I was actually purposely trying to catch up to you because I was like, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him.
This is that competitive Marcie.
I was like, I'm going to get him.
I could just hear you back there like, these guys aren't that fucking fast. Like, I'll show that.
I'm going to get him. And we all came flying into Cowsers, and Morgan sort of went to take my line a little bit. So I dropped the foot brake and he looked back. And when we got to the bottom, he's like, Marcie, smoke him if you got him. And so, yeah, that's my maneuver.
It's a useful maneuver. And you're also low to the ground and you're stable. So if you do hit anyone or anyone hits you, you're probably going to be okay.
Yes.
So that's what we like to hear. So let's just start off from the beginning then.
Okay.
What got you into downhill? When did you pick this up? Did you start this as a young child?
No.
When did you start this?
I started this in 2016, so I was 36.
You were 36.
Yes.
And why do you get into it? What was the catalyst for you?
My son was the catalyst. He had a bamboo arbor board, just a cruiser board, that he wanted for his 13th birthday. And then we lived on a slight hill. And I came home from work one day and he said, Mom, come see what I can do. Come see what I can do. And he just like naturally put himself in a bit of a tuck and blasted down the hill and came walking back up. He's like, wasn't that so cool? I said, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. He's like, I want to go faster. Do you know where there's more hills? And, we live up in Enumclaw and we're surrounded by the foothills of Mount Rainier. And there's other roads there in the neighborhoods and stuff. So we started out in neighborhood roads, just going and him seeing how fast he could go. Well, that board started to flex on one of the roads. The faster he's going, that board started to flex, and he would always have me record him because he wanted to see what it looked like. Now, granted, we had no idea that downhill skateboarding even existed. And so I would record him. He'd get in the car, and he's like, yeah, see that wobble? Did you see that, Mom? I'm going to die. I need different equipment. We need to figure it out. And
really? So early on, he knew that, like, because it's amazing how many people ride a longboard. They're just like, oh, well, the board I got from, Walmart is the best that there ever is. And they never think that, like, man, there's some other components that can make a huge difference in the success of this activity.
Yeah. So he's very engineer minded, and he would like spend hours watching stuff about Nikola Tesla and how the pyramids were built and flying saucers. He at that time believed that he was going to build the next flying saucer. Not
unrealistic. Yeah. It could very well happen. If it hasn't already, depending on what you think of UFOs, but
Right.
I believe that potentially we have them here and they're just not sharing them, because then we'd all be driving UFOs into each other.
Did you go to Area 51?
No. I was working. I was working when they had the storm Area 51. I did donate, though. I donated $100. I wanted to know. I want to see some aliens.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to know what's behind there. Even if it's just like, no, there's nothing. We just, You guys made a big deal out of it, so we just kept the thing going.
Yeah.
I don't know. So your son's getting into this, so Morgan, and he's like, damn, my board's flexing. I think this is maybe there's something we can do here.
Yeah. So he says, Mom, I need other equipment. I'm going to die. And also, Mom, I probably need a helmet. So he had been doing a big going around doing this stuff with no helmet.
Is Morgan 18 now?
Morgan just turned 20.
Okay, cool. So he made it to adulthood. You did your job.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so he's the one who's like, I need a helmet. I need a better board.
Yes. And so, when I was growing up, we didn't wear helmets.
Nobody was wearing helmets when people grew up.
So we just lived life on the edge daily. So we went home, did our thing. The next day he goes to school, and I'm super curious because he's got me all excited about this. And so I go on YouTube and I search some weird random thing like skateboarding fast down hills. And I literally got a video of Teutonia.
Well, that is definitely skating fast down a hill. That's
yes. And so I'm watching this with all these people in leathers and the gloves and the thing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I'm like, this is really badass. And so I just kept searching and searching and searching, saved a few things on the computer. When he came home, I said, look what people are doing. And he said, yep, that's exactly what I want to do. And I said, okay, cool. So we started calling around skate shops, asking them if anybody knew about this longboard racing stuff. And they're like, no, we don't do that here. We're just a regular skate shop. We don't know anything about any of that stuff. Eventually, somebody somewhere that I called said, call Motion Boardshop in Seattle. So I called here and I talked to Jackson Wells. Because this was at the other.
This is before I owned it.
This was at
yep.
Mobo. Yeah. So Jackson answers the phone, and I'm on the phone with him for like 10 minutes, asking him all the questions under the sun. And he says, well, he can come to the garage skating that we do, and, and I said, okay, cool. When is that? And so he tells me when, and I said, okay, I'll bring him. And he goes, well, moms don't usually go to this.
Yeah, I love Jackson. Yeah. I'm so excited because that's definitely one of those, like, he the way he'd say it too, just like, I don't know if you want to come.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. This is back when Jackson was a completely upstanding individual and would never do anything bad.
Right. So I think he was trying to protect me, and this was like
and still get your son into the activity without you being like, you cannot hang out with these kids. Like,
right. And so I told him, I said, well, we live in Enumclaw. Bellevue is, an hour or more away. He's 13 years old. I'm going to have to drive him.
Yeah, you're not going to give him the keys to the car.
Right. And I was willing to do whatever it took for him to skateboard because he wasn't into any team sports at school or anything like that. And so he finally had found something that he loved and enjoyed and wanted to do. And it was an outlet for him. And he found it naturally on his own without even knowing the sport existed. So I said, okay, I will help you to do this. So we came to the first garage session, and it was a blast, and that's how everything really got started.
And did you skate at that first garage session?
Heck no.
No? When did you hop in the board?
So it's really funny because it's like I got more excited than him. So I was on his Facebook page and I was friending all these longboarders and stuff and finding all the events and putting them on his page. He's like, Mom, what are you doing on my Facebook page? I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. You're going to I'm going to take you to Idaho, because they had a thing at Bogus Basin.
Yep. That was a super fun event.
Yeah. Oh, and that's when I first met all of you guys, actually.
Maybe not the
best. For Omen.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty... Yeah, the same reason I wouldn't want you to come to a event is like, oh, yeah, I met you at that skate event when you were with Team Omen. It's like, oh, yeah, we had a bit of a reputation back then. But... You
did. Actually, I saw you guys first in Arlington at that Centennial Push Race.
Oh,
Morgan did that as well. That was the first one.
That was the one that was at night.
Yes.
That was brutal. I convinced a couple people to come up there, and then everyone left, and it was just me. And I was like, well, I'm going to do this push race. I'm going to represent. And I remember being so cold in my van for 4 hours, just freezing. And then finally doing the push race and coming back and being like, I don't know if that was worth it.
Yeah, it rained.
It rained and it was at
crazy.
night, and I was just a broke boy at the time, so like it was tough.
Crazy.
It was tough.
So it wasn't until sort of the end of 2016, I think. What happened was Dino at Maryhill. Maryhill is really what inspired me the most, because we went to one of the free rides, and I rode up in the U-Haul, and I stood at the top of the road. And as we rode up, I told Morgan, I was like, you got to get in there. I said, you see all those fast guys? You see the ones? You see them with the leathers and all the stuff? That's who you need to get in there with. I said, you're in the jungle, and they will eat you alive. You got to get in there. I was like giving him this crazy mom pep talk, like, you're going to get in there. And so he, yeah. So I throw my kid to the wolves.
Absolutely, to the wolves. You're like, the guys in the leathers, that's who you got to ride with.
I'm talking like the Colorado crew and all of them, like Venom.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about people in full faces, and like, that is the last piece of advice that you'd give someone who's like new to America. Like, you know what you should do is start at the back, and like you're over here like, no, just like jump into the fire face first.
Well, because the roads that we were skating up towards Mount Rainier, he was jamming. I mean, I had already clocked the kid at like 55 miles an hour.
So you were like, Maryhill's not.
Yeah,
when you got up there, you're like,
come on, dude.
Okay, that's a better explanation of like, he had been going faster than Maryhill was capable of. So you felt very confident. Like, what are you going to do? Fall? Yeah. You've got leathers and a helmet. Like,
exactly.
Just shut up.
Yep. So, I mean, and I bought him, I tried to get him the best stuff that I could afford to get him. And I was like, you're going to get up there and do it. Get in there.
He was outfitted better than I was. You were doing a great job.
He was having a good time. So he actually did it. And I stood up at the top and I watched him in there with all those guys at, age 14 years old. And he blasts through the hay tunnel. And I was just like, this is insane. And I kind of started to cry a little because I just thought it was so awesome. And so I get down to the bottom of the hill.
Is this like, you think it's super awesome? Like, you're like, this is an activity my kid has found and is just enjoying, and that makes me really happy? Or like, you're like, this is really cool, and this is something that I could be a part of?
Well, so I was actually afraid to try. And when I got to the bottom, the feeling was so overwhelming there. I had never seen so many people in one place having such a good time, pushing themselves to their limits. Like, you can go to concerts and see people, having a fantastic time dancing around and getting drunk that are in the numbers that we see at Maryhill. But you go to Maryhill and you have all these different people, such a variety of human beings, and they're all out there having fun, testing their limits, seeing what their body can do. They're in the elements. They're freaking sweating their asses off sometimes, when you're out there in the summer and stuff. And it just blew my mind. And so, a few tears fell because it was just overwhelming. And I get to the bottom. I ride down in the U-Haul to the bottom, and Dino was there. And I started talking to him, and I just was telling him, man, this is amazing. This is so cool. And he said, you need to try it. If you feel that strongly about it, you should try it. And he tried to get me to get on a skateboard then, and I wouldn't. So then that opened the conversation for Morgan and I. And so he started to show me.
Excellent. So your son taught you how to ride down a hill on a skateboard.
Yes. We started in a little parking lot that was on a hill, and I felt like it was like my playpen. And I would just push up and skate down and push up and skate down. And then I moved out onto the street and went down the hill, and it was, baby steps.
That's the right way to do it. I'm glad he didn't start you off the same way you were trying to start him off. Like, hey, let's just drive around. I'll film you. You don't need a helmet. Just bomb down these hills. I started it. Yeah. You're talking about no helmets when you're like younger.
Yeah.
I didn't wear a helmet until after till after one of my friends had been hit by a car and broken his leg. Another one of my friends had been sent to the ER with a concussion from running into a curb. And like, that was when I was like, yeah, I'm going to put a helmet on. And like, I was the only person in my friend group that wore a helmet for like probably 2-3 years. And then eventually it was like, we found it. I lived in Lake Forest Park. We would just ride. Everything's hilly. We just all had longboards. We were cruising around. We didn't realize it was cool. And then all of a sudden we realized we were good at it. And we were like, oh yeah, we're going to see what it is. Go on like Facebook, find Northwest Longboarding. And then there's like people out there that are actually good at it. And so we started going to sessions and they were kind of like, you need a helmet. And we're like, well, we're going to have to put a helmet on if we want to hang out with these guys, these cool hills. So I found it just like you did, where it was like, yeah, oh, like a helmet was an afterthought. Like the idea of riding down a hill was so attractive that's what I wanted to do first. Yeah. So how long did it take you from the first time you went to Maryhill to being able to ride down Maryhill?
The first time, it was the following spring. So we had gone, that was the fall free ride that we were at. And so then I knew I wanted to do it. I had already actually met a few other people. I had met Fred from Ronin. I had met Max Caps, Daniel Engel. Like I had met and talked with all these people just through Morgan skateboarding. And so, you know, Fred said, if you ever want to learn how to skate, I'm going to make sure Max helps to teach you. And I was like, okay. So he just like volunteered Max and he's like, remember this lady. And so he's just a goof, just funny, you know? And so Morgan was doing a fantastic job teaching me, but, you know, sometimes we would get into these arguments and stuff. And so
no
I said...
way. Can't believe it. So, I've never argued with my mom before in my life.
So I was like, okay, maybe I need to, like, not make him feel like every time he goes to skate, he has to...
Bring his mom.
Be teaching me and bring me and whatever. So I kind of tried to branch out away from him a little bit. And not tax his gig so hardcore, Guster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when and I knew I wanted to skate Maryhill, but I felt like I needed to learn how to stop better. Honestly, Morgan did put me on a board on one of our roads, and I really couldn't do the sliding. And he hadn't shown me a footbrake yet, so I just kept falling and like getting my pants, you know, eaten, my flesh torn apart, and I was like, this is insane. Something needs to happen different. So I actually went to California. I spent a weekend basically doing slide clinic the entire time at Talega and learning how to slide. And then I went to Maryhill that April. And
so you had like a 6-7 month introduction of like, I'm going to skate Maryhill.
Yeah. And of course in the winter we can't skate here. So I really actually started skating in February. And then I went to California, did the thing. My grandma lives down there. My family lives down there. So I just did a little trip and went and skated Maryhill for the first time.
And
that April.
Pretty good experience your first time?
2016. Yeah, it was fantastic. I didn't fall once. I know.
Wow.
There was no falling at Maryhill. And I think that people thought it was really cool that, you know, here's this mom wanting to skate. I had people in Portland invite me to come down and actually do a hike run. So my first time skating Maryhill was a hike run like a week before the event.
I've never hiked Maryhill to skate it.
Okay, it's freaking brutal.
I mean, I would never do that, but it's
insanity.
Yeah, there's another. I walk up hills right now in the snow to go snowboarding because I'm an idiot. But I look at Maryhill, I'm like, oh, not that. Like,
it's bad. It feels like you're, you know, trudging through the Sahara Desert and there's going to be like no food at the end. But when you get to the top, there's a little bit of water, you know, and then you get to blast it down for 3 minutes.
A little bit of water. There's a little bit of E. coli at the top of the fountain. If that's what you mean.
No, I don't drink out of that fountain, but
it's there. I mean, if you drink out of that fountain, you don't have to worry about what, you know, is going to happen with coronavirus. You're invincible.
Right.
So you get up to the top, your first run, you hike up there, so your legs are now tired, and you're like, okay, how does the first run go? You make it down okay?
Yeah, I made it down great. I mean, I knew how to footbrake now and stuff, and I've never thrown a slide at Maryhill. I footbraked a few times going down.
Seemed like a dig at somebody here. Okay, fine.
Oh, well,
I've never thrown a slide at Maryhill. So when you get to the bottom, emotional? Are you like, holy shit, I did this thing? Because like you were talking about 6 months before, you're like crying at the top. Are you now crying at the bottom?
Yeah, it was amazing. And we got some footage of that and some pictures. And I couldn't believe that I actually did it and was alive.
So when you dropped it at the top, like on a scale of like confidence or shitting your pants, where were you at?
Shitting my pants. And You know.
Oh yeah, definitely pooping the pants.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how now, if you were to think about going there, you wouldn't think it's fast. If you were to just stand up down the hill and never tuck, you'd be like, this is manageable.
Right.
And the first time you go there, you're just like, how do you even make the corners? Like, there's no way you're going to explode off the side of the road.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I had my leathers. I had already ordered leathers and done all of that. And yeah, I mean, so that was the beginning, and it's been gnarly ever since.
So
in a good way.
In a good way. Oh yeah, I think skateboarding's pretty good as long as you prepare for it. Wear a helmet, wear some leathers. Yeah. So you did that, and then it kind of took off because like we met shortly thereafter, and you were actually the first person to ever come into the store and buy something. I still remember you came into the store and bought a Madrid Wraith.
Yes.
It was very emotional for me. I did not cry, but it was definitely one of those like, holy shit, like this is going to be a business. This person just drove up here and gave me money. Like it was a big deal for me. So thank you so much for being the first customer in the store.
You're welcome. Sorry I had to chop that board up a little bit because
no, I don't mind. You paid for it. You can do whatever you want after that. I got the money. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I always thought that was actually pretty cool. I was like, oh, I get to be a little piece of the history.
You're on our Instagram forever. So as long as we don't say anything bad on Instagram, you'll be there till the shop's,
Nice.
Till I sell the shop for parts. No, I'm joking. I really, really like this. So you started coming to the shop. I got to like see your progression and see your growth and see you like really start setting up some downhill boards and getting into it and just like kind of take off with longboarding in particular.
Yes.
And I got to ask as well, because this has cultivated a community that you're now a little bit more a part of, which is relating back to the GGA. And I was wondering if you would mind talking to us about, going from in 2016 being like, I'm going to hop on a board to now, what are you doing?
Now I am, somehow I found myself, Aaron Breitwart gave me a call after I had filled out they put out a thing that they wanted to start a women's and non-binary committee. And so I filled that out and told them all the reasons why I thought I would be great for helping with those committees. And of course that included my professional experience.
Tell us a little bit about that, because you were not just a stay-at-home mom who got her kid into downhill skating. What did you do before that?
I was the comptroller for an auto franchise, which meant that I was the highest level manager for the franchise, and I managed all of their finances, accounting, training, you name it. I did all their Better Business Bureau complaints, so a lot of the legal aspects of things, making sure that things were in compliance. Yeah.
A lot of babysitting goes along with that job as well.
Yeah, a lot of stress also. So I'm glad I'm out of that, because I felt like it was like robbing my soul.
And so you told them, you're like, look what I was able to put up with before. I can probably help your organization out.
Yes, and I founded a nonprofit in the past when I lived in Colorado, so I have experience with nonprofit organizations, and that was specifically working with kids. But I know how nonprofits function. And so he sent me a message and he said, I think that I could use your help other than the committee. And of course the committee, they haven't announced anything yet on the women's and non-binary committee, but we're working on some stuff together. It's not completely final yet, but we've been, talking every week and putting together a little package and, just trying to help them figure out how to, restructure and reformulate the things that they're doing at the different events at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Inclusivity, I gotta assume, is a huge part of this, and that's
absolutely.
That's where I was about to. That's where a lot of my questions come in.
Okay.
What are some of the things that they're doing? What are some of the things that you guys are working on? I'm really just trying to give them an opportunity to vocalize, because they've been there. There's a lot of things happening. You're directly talking with the people in charge. Like, what are the cool things that they're doing? Let us know. Like, brag about some of the stuff, because they're doing something that's pretty entertaining. like this is stuff that's going to help a lot of people. And if they can do it in a way that can be a long-term solution, because, you know, in the past we've had different organizing bodies for downhill skateboarding. And if they can really solidify and come up with a good plan, like I'm here to promote it and get people aware of what's going on, because that is ultimately valuable to me. Like I want to see more events run better. I've been so spoiled that I get to go to Maryhill, you know, all the time. And if we can have a Maryhill in every state, I know that might be really wishful thinking, but that would be great. That would be, you know, perfect situation for me. So I could go to every state and skateboard.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, honestly, I don't want to speak too much on it yet since there's nothing official between us. I mean, we're negotiating a contract right now. On on what services I will provide for them, and how we're going to work together on doing that. So it's an actual position, not a committee member. I mean, I'm will be part of what's happening with the committee, but there's something else that we're working on as well. But as far as like looking to the inclusivity part of things, we've already kicked around a few ideas. One of those is a way to provide resources for people on their webpage, so that because, you know, when you look at a big organization like that,
we're using the term big here.
Yeah.
It's a big organization.
But it's a nonprofit organization that has accountability on many levels, right?
Exactly.
And just like the event organizers, you know, they are accountable on many levels as well. And as far as like trying to be more inclusive right now, they're putting these committees together so that they can get feedback from people on where they think that things have fallen short in the past.
So they're like taking a stock right now of like what's going on and like where can we improve? Because I mean, there's a lot of it's an imperfect system. A lot of the times I think people are like, let's just throw the event. It's like, what about all this other stuff? Like, no. We're just going to focus on the event.
Yeah. And then, you know, like with recent things that have come up as far as, you know, harassment and assaults and other things like that, people feeling uncomfortable, potentially wanting to ban people. There is a process that's going to have to be set into place on how to deal with those types of things. And I think that an organization that is at that level needs to start looking at ways that they can train their employees and their volunteers, say, in taking some sexual harassment courses. They're free online. We can find great ones. It can just be part of their volunteer training, their employee training. That's what a lot of companies do, because then it in turn limits their liability if there was something to happen. And then showing that they care by at least at minimum having a resources page for victims of any types of trauma, things like that.
Okay.
Is really the most that we've gotten into so far, besides some other stuff.
Well, what are I mean, if you can't necessarily talk about like what they're planning, what are some of the things that you'd like to see going on? Like, is that a fair question?
I really think that it would be great to see some actual women's events come back. I think
like women's specific events coming back.
Women and non-binary.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That was a miss.
No, I mean, if that's a lot of people keep saying they want to do another like Maryhill that they had for the She Ride, right? So awesome. Yes, let's include others as well. How they're going to get to do that and all of that, I would love to be part of that and help. I think that with, you know, my background in understanding how to get sponsorships and how to organize events, that I could be really helpful.
Well, you've been doing such a good job of getting yourself, I mean, not only physically out there to these events, but getting yourself out there and making yourself reachable to other people.
Yeah.
You know, being a resource for people that are coming up.
I've been trying. I know that there's others that have been trying too, you know, like at the last Maryhill, Marissa didn't skate much, but she made a point to talk to all the young ladies that she saw and people that she felt she could help, and just show little things on how to skate and get them excited. You know, that's part of what we need more, is just people helping others to feel welcome. And, you know, this is something that I talk about with other friends. Like, you can't force everybody to get along, right? That's impossible.
It's very tough.
Yeah, that's impossible.
And then just to clear up, Marissa wasn't skating because of her knee injury, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, she's like coming back off of a darn skiing injury.
Yeah, and she's excited about luging, actually. She had a blast doing some butt boarding. I think she borrowed somebody's luge, and she was just super stoked on it and would like to maybe actually really get into street luge. She loves skiing, and that's just her big passion right now. So she didn't want to risk potentially getting hurt at Maryhill so that she wouldn't be able to ski this winter.
Pretty reasonable. I mean, I think she's still pretty fresh on that knee injury too. And
yeah,
it's weird to say this, but if you were going to hurt your knee, Maryhill stand-up would probably be one of the really easy ways to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So she's going around and getting some people. And so like you're seeing stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on an all women's or all non-binary women's
non-binary?
How about just no dudes, like a non-dude Maryhill? That would be something. I mean, they tried it in the past, and there was a little bit of there were some things that happened as far as like the property getting burned down. But if that could come back, that would be awesome.
Okay, I don't know about the burning.
Well, remember, there used to be a house down there. Like the property had caught on fire, and so there were some things, and they went from it being they called it the She Ride. They went from it being the She Ride to the Wolf Family Fundraiser to raise money for the Wolf family that was at the bottom.
I see.
They own the property that everyone camped on at the last free ride.
I see.
And so that's was a good intention that didn't necessarily pan out well at all. And I think if you were to do something like that, that'd be really cool. And I think it'd be very, I mean, I know my girlfriend would go if it was like a non-dude. She'd be super stoked on that.
I think it would be great. And I think that for those people that are like new into the sport, it would be fantastic because I know even myself when I was first starting, skating with the guys was slightly intimidating, you know?
I'm a guy. It's slightly intimidating. I will just tell you that. Like, I don't like if Zach Madem comes up to me and is like, we should take a run. I'm like, you are off your rocker. There's no way I'm getting in a run with you. You're so fast. Like, I don't trust any of your friends to not bump me down the hill and then off the road.
Yeah.
So like, if I feel that way, I can only assume other people are feeling that way too. And so.
Yeah. So I think that, I think it would be great. I would love to see more camaraderie between women and non-binary and really just between everybody. But I think that there's a thing that happens with the women, and if there can be more camaraderie and inclusiveness, even just between them, that it would really boost a lot of people's desire to want to skate or even continue to skate. And so when we're talking about let's see more females and non-binary in the scene, well, that means that the women and the non-binary that are currently in the scene need to be more welcoming. And so...
Does that feel like a controversial thing to say?
Honestly, I don't care.
Good for you. I love that. That's the right attitude to have. Just like, how do you... And then I think the other thing that you're saying that's really smart.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, so if it causes people to be upset, that it's the truth, and we just need to talk about it. And
you're fighting it the best way you know how, which is being more welcoming, which is like, I'm trying as hard as I can to get more people into it. Like you can only, and so I'm really excited because I think that would be really awesome. I mean, I'm kind of invested. Like if you make a super cool women's event, like you fucking tell me, I'll give you money. I'll give you all the benches and the banners that I've got so you guys can do it. And I'll show up and be like, here's everything. And you can be like, cool, thanks. You can leave now. And I'll be like, okay, bye. Like, I think that's really cool because it's one of the things that I've heard, and it's not, I don't think it's a new thing to hear that I can only speak from the things that my girlfriend has told me about her experience going to Maryhill, but like feeling very intimidated when she gets up to the top at Maryhill, and she's been to some other events, but like when she gets up to the top, she's like, man, I really don't want to drop with anyone who's faster than me behind me because I get very nervous when people are passing me. And at Maryhill, when I'm going to make up numbers. Like let's say 50 ladies skating and 250 guys skating. Like it can be very, very numerically intimidating, as well as like, this is like, I feel really uncomfortable. I want to go in the back of the pack. And one of the coolest things that happened while Allison was at the last free ride was I believe Marissa and some other people came up and were like, hey, we're doing like an all ladies run. And so they
Yeah.
had ladies on every type of wheeled vehicle out
Yes,
there.
we did.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting to see that and very
It was cool. That was a very fun run too.
And she said that she's like, this was a really fun run. She's like, I would have done some things different because she was like never ridden with street losers, and she was like blown away. It's just a different movement system down the hill. And so she was like, I would have loved to have done that with a little bit more knowledge of what was about to happen. And I think what she really means is if she could have a 3-day event that was just the ladies hanging out, she'd be very stoked on that.
Yeah, I would be totally down. And even it came up in a forum actually recently, and somebody said, do it, Marcie, like make the event happen. And so I would love to do that. The thing is like, women tend to ride differently than men too. And I know that might sound controversial as well, but we are a little bit more careful about what happens to our bodies. And so, you get all the guys going down the hill, and they're blasting. They're like, they ride like beasts, some of them, and that's a good thing for the sport, and it's a good thing for them. They're jamming and they're having fun. But like when we get those groups together and it's all the ladies, we're watching out for one another. We're having fun. We cross back and forth. We're kind of playing. And I know that the guys play a little different.
Very different.
So
I completely agree with what you're saying. Yeah. Being around a bunch of dudes, it's like, even if, and this is the ongoing joke, there's tons of memes about this, I'm not making this up, and then like the typical like, okay, everyone, we're taking a chill run, typically means like someone's getting bumped off the road super aggressively because dudes just cannot take it chill. Like one person gets 5 feet in front and then all of a sudden it's on and people start going crazy. And that's not that fun. Like even for me, like I look at that and like, I don't want to be a part of 10 people trying their hardest to be the fastest down the hill because someone is not going to be the best. And if it's me, I'm going to crash, and I don't want to crash. I want to make it to the bottom. Just like you said, my first Maryhill, I don't want to crash ever.
Yeah.
If I can keep doing that, I can keep doing this for a long time. And like crashing sucks. It's the worst part. And so if you can get someone through a whole Maryhill without getting taken out because, and I'm going to no names, like if you're cruising down Maryhill and you're having a good time and you look behind you and there's a pack of 15 people just mobbing up on you, like that's arguably the worst feeling ever. You're like, this is how I die. Like I've had that thought before. I've actually seen a pack of a bunch of people and I've foot braked to a stop and gotten off my board and just stood on the side of the road and let them pass. Like that is how much anxiety I feel.
I did that last time.
Like, I don't want to, so when you're talking about like, how do we make this more inclusive? And like half of me is like, well, don't invite the guys. And the other half of me is like, yeah, don't invite the guys. Like actually that would make people a lot happier because I don't want to, actually I can't. Dudes get fucking crazy. And that is, like you said, they're like beasts going down the hill. If you can avoid that, you're going to have more people having an opportunity to just take solo runs down. I'm just using Maryhill because it's so easily accessible for us. If you can learn how to ride Maryhill without people passing you or pressure or being at the top with like 250 people and like you feel like you're holding up the runs because you're taking them slowly.
Right.
That's another like, there's the intimidation of doing this, but there's also the intimidation of participating incorrectly in the activity that you're new to. And if you can pull out all of the experienced people, so it's just people who are new, and you can kind of give them more of a like, hey, here's your canvas, go paint on it the way you want, versus like, this is how everyone does it. If you don't do it this way, you're slowing down the process. It would make people feel really good.
And I think that they've done that in the past, like when they had Skate School Santa Fe come to Maryhill.
Yep.
I actually participated in that because I was still fairly new. And then I ended up branching off from it because I wasn't that new. And that was fantastic. And so to hold something like that, that was just the women and the non-binary, and then have fun and allow people the space to be able to get comfortable and progress at their own speed and that kind of thing, I think it would be great. I know that, us women, we can also get a little burly, and we can get, like I was saying earlier, I get competitive.
Oh yeah, you do.
And we can.
I just remember you coming down Maryhill after a crash and coming up to me and talking about the situation that just happened and being so pissed off. And I was like, I've never seen Marcie this charged up before in my life. And it was
I
about
was
skateboard.
angry.
You were angry, but rightfully so. You told me what happened. And I was like, yeah, if you put all this time, effort, and energy to go down a hill and race, and then you crash out with someone, you're kind of going to be bummed.
And this is what would be great too, because, there's probably this issue also in the other races, but what I've noticed in women's racing is that they want to race, they want to participate, but if they're new, they don't know how to race, right? We need to show them what it means, what we're doing when we're racing.
What's different between racing and a free ride?
What's different?
No. That's like, are you explaining that difference to someone who's new? Like, what's different between like just having a free ride run and like when you're racing, now you're getting competitive, and what are the things that you can do to safely get down? That's what you want to illustrate. And that'd be super cool, because I feel like, I mean, a lot of people would really enjoy that. In the same way that you were like, unfortunately, there's different ways we raise different people, but like you go to your son and you're just like, Morgan, you get in there with the big guys and you're gonna learn today. And like, while that works, that doesn't work for everybody. And I think one of my things, and I've told a lot of people, like, I'm a terrible teacher unless you can learn the way I learn. And the way I learn is like through peer pressure and like just being told like, you're not going to die. Like, you're probably not going to die if you do this wrong. And that's not good for everybody. Like, I really need someone to stand there and be like, oh, you should do this. And some people need a different way of doing it. So I think that that'd be really helpful to educate those. So do you want to kind of like, when you're talking about this, like your ideas of like including more people and building up this particular scene, is it specifically based on racing, or is that kind of like a piece of it?
My passion is for racing, and but no, I just think all together to help build the community and bring people in, foster those relationships, teach people how to skate, show them, put them in an environment where they're comfortable enough. Because here's the thing, I think that a lot of people who think they can't do it really can. It's just all this other outside noise when they're at an event like Maryhill with close to 300 people there, and we have all the people that are training to race and going as hard as they can, and then we have the others that are free riders, and I mean the whole thing is just intimidating. So let's just do an event where we can take that element out and bring people in. I really think that's what it's going to take, because like even when you get online and you want to search downhill longboarding, it's video after video after video of blasting as fast and gnarly and burly as you possibly can, right? And they all look the same. For the most part, they all look the same. And so you get on there and you're like, oh my God, that looks really cool, but I don't think I want to die. I don't think I want to blast down like Cole Trotta, And I mean, he's amazing.
We do, but you're also like, I don't want to do that. Like, if I could ride like that, maybe I would. But like, you see that and you're like, that's a short. You either got to be the best or you're going to start hitting some guardrails.
Yes. Or just wob out into a car that's coming up the other way, or who knows what could happen. I mean, that could be a disaster. But the point is that when
that's all that you see, when you Google downhill longboarding and all you see is, 70 pages of, I'm going to say dudes bombing hills really fast. Where's like, how do you get into it?
How do you get women into it?
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, we have this whole thing, like we are much more careful with our body, I think, than a lot of men who want to get into this sport. Let's just say extreme sports people. Right?
And let's make a differentiation between downhill longboarding right now and like freestyle and dance longboarding, because freestyle and dance longboarding has been growing very quickly in just my experience and what I see.
It really has.
And especially, I would say, like proportionately, it's much closer to even with freestyle when it comes to men and women as far as like that goes. Yeah. And even more so, like I would say, like even non-binary, like there's a non-binary group in Washington specifically for freestyle dancing, which I think is wonderful. And that's for considering how much less time that's been around. It's interesting to me to see how much quicker a group like that was formed based on the necessity of the members in that community.
Right. So if we, I think that if you're talking about wanting to grow the sport, we need also more footage of downhill that's not so gnarly. Because, you know, I can't speak for all women, but the majority of women that I have spoken to, watching people fly, you know, 45 to 65 miles an hour down a road, gnarly with no leathers on, just seems really insane and dangerous to them, and they would never want to try it. And if that's the only thing they're seeing about downhill longboarding, how are you going to get them interested?
Their boyfriend's going to have to go to Maryhill, just like my girlfriend. And she was like, oh, there's a stepping stone to this, you know, because she did this. She saw that I was into longboarding. And she's like, I really want to get into this. And so she went home and Googled downhill longboarding. And she was like, there's no fucking way I'm getting into this. Like, this is so dangerous. And I was like, hey, there's actually a way to learn this without going that fast. And so that's why she got into sliding, is because the speed is what scared her.
Yeah.
But sliding at slower speeds was much more like, oh, the falls aren't as bad. And I can like learn something that's pretty fun. And so she got into it because of that. And the same way that you're talking about, she only agreed to do it once she found out that you don't have to go 70 miles an hour down a hill to do the activity.
Right. So that should tell us then that we need to be putting out more footage that is not as gnarly and crazy in order to capture the interest of potential people to come into the scene. And if that was happening, and they were putting out things that appealed more to female and non-binary as far as the media is concerned, then we would be getting them. I mean, if you do the research, you're a retail organization, and you probably do cater more to men. I'm not quite sure, but overall in retail, women spend 80% of the dollars. So if women spend close to 80% of all dollars spent in retail, why is downhill talking about wanting more women but not actually marketing to them through media? I'm just asking. I'm not asking you specifically.
I do not have the answer.
I'm putting it out there also for everybody else. Like, let's think about this, because it actually doesn't make any logical sense.
This is I will keep saying this, because this is the stuff that I don't think about. I'm not like this. You make a great point. 80% of I didn't know that as a fact. 80% of the retail dollars, and then if you look at, like, let's say the wall of downhill longboards, how many of them are? I don't necessarily know that it'd be fair to say like how many of them are women's specific, but there are a few women's pro model boards that are out there. But nowadays, most of the boards are getting smaller and more compact. And I don't know if that's more conducive for ladies. Typically, ladies have smaller feet and things like that. So like maybe that's helpful. Yeah. But even then, all the media that you see on it is typically not ladies. And if you do see a lady riding, it's very rarely featured as like downhill or free ride and sliding. You know, it might be more. I'm not crapping on Sector 9. Sector 9 does use a lot of ladies, but a lot of it's like freestyle, like cruising around.
Right.
And that's good, and that does get more people into the act of longboarding. Getting them into the act of like downhill longboarding might be more useful if they would promote some stuff like that. So that's one of it.
You can go 25 miles an hour on a road, and that might seem slow to some of us, but to people just getting into it, they're like, what?
That's really fast.
You're going 25 miles. Right. But if you show that on a video or you show, I'm very interested in figuring out how to create media footage for downhill skateboarding that will appeal to women. That's why I did the video that I did, the teaser that I did out in the forest. And it has kind of, what people are going to look at as like a witchy kind of element. I wanted to, and the full edit is going to come out.
I'm looking forward to it. I want to see it.
But
it's very on brand for you. I like it. And the other thing that I like about that video, you may say like it's witchy, and you look at me and you kind of like, you know that I'm going to say something. I'm happy that you're doing that. Like, be yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, more people are going to relate to, like, skateboarding is one thing, but like there might be people who watch that and they're kind of like, ooh, Marcie likes to like, and if they follow you on Instagram, they're going to see like two things. One, you wear a lot of black, and two, like you're into some pretty cool stuff that isn't necessarily the mainstream. And I'm not saying that you're a witch.
Yes.
It's just like, it's just one of those things like that's relatable. Like people, people sometimes you're like, oh, I want to be this cool downhill skateboarder person. And all of a sudden you're like, people relate more when I'm holding both of my cats. And they're just like, this guy loves cats.
Right. It makes you a real human being.
It makes you a real human
or an interesting human being.
versus the person who's like, all he does is skateboard down a hill, or all they do is skateboard down a hill. It's not like, oh, Marcie's doing this as well. And, you know,
yeah, I really wanted to meld like art and drama and show a bit of personality and do something that was really different and catchy, that like something that somebody hadn't done before. Because when I, as a woman, like I was saying, get on.
You mean in a skateboard video, show a little bit of your personal self? I don't think a lot of people have done that before. Yeah. Like most people are like, I just want to be cool in my skateboard video. It's like, don't make me look dumb. And like, don't show anything that might, you know, not be cool. Yeah. So I'm stoked to see that. How did you get involved with that? How did that come about?
Oh man. So, okay. So for years now, since I have been skating this particular road.
What road?
I was, well, I don't want to say.
What state is it in?
It's in Washington State, and it's up outside of Enumclaw towards Mount Rainier.
Okay, I know where it is.
You know where it is.
I know where it is. Don't worry, no one's gonna go there. I mean, you're like, I want to keep this to myself.
No, I don't. No. I didn't want to say until the video comes out.
Okay.
The video will let people know. So anyway, I wanted shrouded in a bit of mystery.
Very on brand for you.
Yeah, thanks. So the first time that Morgan took me up there to skate, because I took him up there to skate, and he was like, holy cow, Mom, this is amazing. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And ever since the first time that I skated there, I've wanted to make a video that kind of showed how I felt when I was skating that road. And then that just evolved over the years into this thing where I wanted to tell a story of the initiation that I felt that I went through to get where I am today skateboarding. So, you know, I love hiking. I love nature. I love all of that. And I wanted to put all of that together and a bit of my own spirituality into it, because I think that plays a lot into skateboarding for potentially a lot of people. I mean, or even anybody who's doing extreme sports. I think that there comes a time when you realize that something on a soul level is happening to you when you're, you know, in your wingsuit flying through the canyons, if that's your sport, you know.
When you're in a squirrel suit, when you're doing like those super crazy slacklining things, it's the regression to the singular focus. The idea that like, and this is how I feel about it. When you are skateboarding, or I like snowboarding, I like skateboarding, when you are focused on one thing, and it is the only thing, you have no noise. You were talking earlier about like the noise of Maryhill, but you know, it's so tough to take a run at Maryhill, but once you're in that run, like you're in that run, there's nothing else going on. Yeah. Your Jeep isn't leaking oil. Right. Your Subaru doesn't have a blown head gasket. Right. Like you're just cruising down the hill, and that's really nice. And so being, like you kind of said, and that's something that crosses, that feeling isn't unique to longboarding. Like you said, you can get it in a squirrel suit. You can get it. I assume you can get it if you're just ripping the shit out of a violin and you're just in the zone. But it's definitely a lot easier when there's some physical consequences that go along with it. And so when you're bombing down a hill and you're kind of like in that mode of like, man, I really need to harness everything. You say spirituality. I say like Zen. Some people say like it's that singular focus when you were just, and I'm gonna meditation. Meditation is just the idea of this. You're just existing at that moment in this time, doing this thing, and that's really what it is. You're not worried about anything else. And so when you say spirituality, it's spiritual. People make Mecca. You know, it's the Mecca of downhill skateboarding is Maryhill. People travel large distances to do this thing maybe once in their life to fulfill this, you know, that is a spiritual voyage.
Exactly. And then you wonder why, once you've gone down that hill, you're crying. I mean, I took Ryan Villa to this road. He's the one who actually captured the skate footage.
He filmed it for you?
He filmed it for me.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
He's a real good skater, so it's nice to have someone like that with the camera nearby.
Yeah. So he is actually one of the ultimate badasses, in my opinion, when it comes to skateboarding and just what he did. Like he had the camera on his helmet and filmed me and was turning around, getting footage and all kinds of stuff. Like I watched this footage. I'm like, dang, how did you do that?
When you know it's attached to his head, you're like,
it's like attached right here.
Like
it was crazy.
How is it filming me in front of me without you crashing off the road?
Yeah. So it was pretty amazing. But when we got down to the bottom, he said, Marcie, I was crying halfway down that run. He's like, little tears. He was like, it's so beautiful. And I thought, oh my God, that's how I feel. That's why I wanted to make the video here, because every time I come here, the beauty and the glory of this place, and the fact that little me, you know how small you are when you're out there in nature blasting down a hill. You're like
Yeah.
nothing.
You're inconsequential.
Yeah.
It would just take a light breeze and a loosely rooted tree, and you would no longer be on this planet.
Right.
I think about that when I'm hiking around snowboarding. I was playing disc golf this morning in a fucking windstorm, and a branch crashed down next to me, and I was just like looking at my buddy. I was like, damn, like that could have been it. Like, whoa. And yeah, once again, go out into the woods, and Washington's great for this, and go stand next to a huge tree that's been there, you know, for 300-400 years, and you're just like, damn, I'm useless. Like, I'm really not changing much. You go up to the top of a hill, Maryhill, great example, and you just look out, and I always think this is crazy, and a lot of people don't do this. When you're at the top of Maryhill and you're like looking down into the gorge, into like the Columbia River, you're like, that wasn't there always. This used to be like one big plain. That river is sunken in over that time. Like, how long did that take? You think about all the layers and stuff, and you're like, I'm not even going to be here for one of those layers. I will not be on this planet for one of those small lines in the dirt. Weird. It's weird to see. Yeah. It's weird to put yourself into a like situation like that. So when you're in the woods and you're like, I am this small, and you get rid of yourself, like, wonderful.
Exactly. And so that's what I wanted to show when I did that video.
And the teasers come out. When's it?
The teaser's out. The full video, we were actually going to put it out this week, but we didn't get a chance. So hopefully next week. There's a lot of things going on right now. And there's only, so many people in my circle that are, rooting for all the things that are happening. So, and I think that's growing. So that's good.
I'm rooting for you. I'd be more than happy to share it all over our Instagram, all over our YouTube, whatever we can do to promote you, because I always say this on this podcast, it's way tougher to do something than it is to do like nothing. So like whenever someone does something, I just know like making videos is hard. Doing what you're doing, like trying to get more, conducive events for people who are getting into it, trying to build up because this is the issue with downhill skateboarding. Everyone's up here. No one's in here. So like there's this top band of amazingness. And then like there's no real clear structure to get up to that top band. If you look at something like, I'm going to use gymnastics. You know how to become a pro gymnastics person. You like start out as a young kid, you go through these steps, and then boom, you're there. You like see downhill skateboarding, you're like, oh my goodness, how do we get there? And so if you can, if part of your wonderful life is opening this door up wider for more people to come through, that's something worth supporting. That's one of the reasons why I wanted, like, I specifically asked you on because I knew like what was going on. I talked with Garrett, and then after the Garrett podcast, he was talking about what you were doing. I was like, shit, I didn't even know that, because when's the last time we sat down and talked for a while? Yeah. And so he was like, oh, you got to do this. And I was like, Marcie isn't coming to the shop anymore. You got some big plans. You told me before you might be moving to California for a bit. And I was like, shit, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you for an hour and a half before. So like, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that I got to spend some time with Garrett down in California at Tepe, and that he kind of just let you know that he's a good
in
it
kid
to win it.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
For
and he
me and everybody. So.
He reached out and he was like, you got to do it. And I was like, that's all I needed to know. So he was talking about that. And so you're moving down to California for a little bit? Maybe not moving, just checking it out?
Yeah, I'm going to go down there. So I was going to move to Wisconsin. I actually rented a place. I was trying to like find somewhere that was cheap. I'm a florist. So I was like, I can start my florist business there. I can do all these things in Wisconsin. And then
you're the Jill of all trades.
So then, but then I went to Tepe, and I went to Tepe because I heard it was going to be a qualifier for the World Roller Games. And so I was like, okay, I can't miss it. I got to go. So I waited. I stayed here for a month instead of moving to Wisconsin, went down to Tepe. And then after all the things happened at Tepe, and Tepe, Kevin Reimer was just so great with trying to really be inclusive. And
what were some of the things that he did, just so that we could give him some props on the good things that he did so other people know?
Nice. He wanted feedback from the women that were there. He wanted to know how he could make the event more comfortable for them in whatever way that was. So he opened up the discussion to get some feedback before the event happened. once we were there, him and Amanda, they were just really nice, checking in with people all the time, asking them how they were doing, if they needed any help.
Portland Amanda, right?
No, isn't his woman's name Amanda?
Allison. Is that? Wait.
I'm pretty sure her name's Amanda. Starts with an A.
The very sweet, nice blonde lady? Yes. Okay. I don't know. We both know who we're talking about. I've met her one time, but yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So they were fantastic with that. They had Di Dutes in there, and she really was rooting for all the ladies that were there.
Who's this?
Di is an older woman who she runs La Costa Racing Team down in California, and she's very much into slalom, but she's been recently also really wanting to.
And she's friends with Liz Kramer? Am I?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to make that connection.
She was at Maryhill. She was helping at the registration booth at Maryhill. That was the first time that I had ever seen her at an event and met her.
This Maryhill.
Correct.
Okay. I know the face. I did not get an opportunity to sit down and.
Yeah, she's a really neat lady. She'd love to see more female skateboarders, probably in all genres, but she's really been supporting the downhill longboarding scene for the last little while. And then even at the event, Kevin was open to listening to the women on how they wanted to race. What did they want to do? Did they want to do a round robin? Did they want to do a one and done? Did they want to do 4-person heats? How would that take place? How would they want to deal with the prize money? He just was really trying to figure out what the ladies want. It's my understanding that there's been a group of females who have really, and non-binary, who have been saying, hey, we kind of feel left out in the planning of what's going on at these events. And they had ideas on how to make it more comfortable. And I'll tell you, whatever it is that the feedback was that they gave him and he listened, I think just the fact to have an open ear to listen, whether or not he did all the things the way that they wanted, but at least to be like, I'm here, I'm going to listen to you and I care and I'm going to, do what I can at my event. That event was one of the best events that I've been to as far as the camaraderie between the women goes.
That's awesome.
It was huge time.
Did he also make it less expensive for...
He did. Thank you for reminding me. He did make it a little bit less expensive for the women to help them to get there. And that is, a barrier to entry for women is not only entry fees, but equipment. Being able to afford the equipment. And I know everybody struggles with that. But that has been a big thing in the feedback from women specifically. So...
Perfect. So he did a great job in your opinion. There are things that, obviously every event is a work in progress, but like what he did, you felt great about it and you feel like other people had a great time as well.
Yes. That event, like I said, everybody it almost felt like at times we did have our own event at Tepe. Especially with the race, doing it with the round robin style. We actually got to skate with each female, which was really cool. And even though I wasn't really competing, so I was just like trailing behind. But it was great because it allowed us opportunity to chat amongst the women, whereas we may not have otherwise. So it was just helping to form better friendships or new friendships. People I hadn't met before. I felt more comfortable.
It's amazing how well you can bond with someone after you skate down a hill with them.
Right?
It's very...
We made it!
Exactly. My girlfriend refers to it as trauma bonding. You go through trauma with someone and then you're bonded for life.
Right? Yes.
So trauma bonding is really helpful. And so you guys were able to do that. And then what did you, after the event, you were like, okay, am I moving to Wisconsin now or no? You were just like, damn, this is pretty cool. Wisconsin's probably not going to have another Tepe and tacos.
Yeah. And it just solidified some friendships for me. I ended up camping with Alicia Felbeck and her girlfriend, Sammy. We really kind of were watching out for each other the whole trip, the way down, whole time we were there.
You drove down there. And
they did. So we tried to have a little bit of a caravan, but they stopped and had met with some family and stuff. So that separated us, but we were just in constant contact on our way down there. And then we ended up camping together, the whole event. And I had never actually,
speaking of badasses,
yes.
Alicia Philback, I know her for a long time. Her and I DM a bunch because she's got some really cool projects going on. I think she's building a tiny house, and I'm just rooting for her every time I see it. I'm like, you go. Like nothing but support for her because she's
a phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
And Sammy as well. I just really like them both. So then once this Tepe ended up not being a qualifier, because, to be honest, I think it would be pretty badass if,
you could go to the Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, would I be 46 years old if I end up doing that? And I am dead set on at least giving it everything I got.
I mean, and let's say you do go. I'll help you. What can I do? What can I do to get you to the Olympics? It'd be really nice to be like, yeah, she comes into the shop, no big deal. Right. I would love to help. So if you do have an opportunity to go to the Olympics, let me know. If there's something in between now and getting to the Olympics, please also let me know so I can help promote what you're doing. Because like I said, I'm here to, at this point, Motion Boardshop will be here tomorrow. I want to help as many other people do what they want to do. Because if you want to, like Garrett's a great example.
Yeah.
Garrett's similar thing. He really wants to do this. I'm like, how can I help? Like besides buying everyone off to lose and pushing you through those qualifiers, like what else can I do?
Right. Well, we'll have to definitely talk about that because that is what ended up changing. It just felt like everything was saying, don't go to Wisconsin. You need to stay here. And I had come up with this idea to start an all women's racing team, gravity sports racing team, which has never happened before.
No.
So
/ gang. I love it.
Yes.
Seven Seals Racing.
And so
why? Because it's never happened before. I'm just asking you.
The reasons.
I'm just setting it up for you. Why? What are the reasons?
Reason is yes, it's never happened before. It's pretty badass to say that you're the first all-female gravity sports team in the United States. It's totally legit. I have incorporated the business.
Oh shit, it's legit. Like
it's legit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's an LLC. We have an LLC. And
that's official. You actually are okay. This is what I'm happy to talk about. Yeah. So you're taking the steps right now to make this a long-term opportunity for people.
Absolutely, and not just women in gravity sports, but I'd like to see it extend to motocross, anything that's racing. Any women that are interested in racing, whether it's marathons, swimming, whatnot. I'm creating a platform that allows them the opportunity to shine, even if they're not necessarily considered pros in the sport. Because I think that there are a lot of athletes who are passionate about what they're doing, and they have goals and they have these visions of seeing themselves succeed to a certain level in their sport, but they lack the money to, they lack sponsorship and they lack the money to be able to do it. And so being that money is the biggest obstacle, I wanted to create something that would be able to grab the attention of potential sponsors and help make their dreams a reality. So we're starting with a gravity sports team because that's where my personal passion lies, and it's already where I'm invested. And so the website will go live, 7sealsracing.com will be live on Wednesday. I will announce the team on Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Well,
you've got my email address. Whatever I can do to help share and promote, you let me know. Please exploit the YouTube and Instagram channels.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
So you've got a team going. We're gonna release that on Wednesday. This podcast probably won't come out until
It won't be out, so if you want to talk about it
Yeah.
even more, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Do you have any people
I
that are?
didn't know how long
Yeah,
this
it's
was
not
gonna
live right now. No one's at home.
Okay.
To like, I need to know. No,
Well, I
it's-
didn't know if you were going to post this tomorrow or something.
Oh my God. Thank you for having the confidence that we could get this done in one day. And by we, I mean Kyle. And by in one day, I mean he could get it done in a day. I believe in you. So who's,
Okay.
yeah, tell me more.
So it's myself, Alicia Fellbeck.
Winners.
Yep. And then we have Sabrina, the street luge. I wanted to show variety. Sabrina Riffenberg. She has the big mohawk
Yes.
hairdo that she likes to do.
What's her Instagram?
Sparkles.
Yep. That's
Yes.
right. Okay.
Sparkles. So
And
we got Sparkles.
Is she from Southern California?
She is.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep. So we're gonna dominate the West Coast.
You got hypothetically Washington, Oregon with Alicia Philbeck, and then California.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
And so we're starting off with that. And then you've now, I mean, you said that you had a great opportunity to camp and caravan with Alicia down there. And then how'd you meet Sparkles?
So I met Sparkles.
Sorry, we can use her real name as well. We don't
Oh
have to
no,
use
either way. She loves being called Sparkles.
Okay, well Sparkles it is.
Sparkles. So I met her actually at a Bakersfield Outlaw.
Awesome. Which one was it? Was it have you been to I'm thinking of the road that's like kind of all grip, but kind of quick as well. Along like I don't want to say
Man, what is the name? It's not Bodfish.
it's not the Democratic one either, right? It's not like the hot spring.
So when they did, back when I went to the Outlaw, I actually didn't skate. I wasn't skating yet. I wanted to see what these outlaws were about before I let my son go to one.
Reasonable.
So I was like, what is this outlaw stuff? And I was headed to California to see my grandmother anyway. So I went to one of the Bakersfield Outlaws, and they skate many roads.
Yes.
But then they hold the race only on one.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so you're talking about one of the roads. They actually just free ride that road.
Yeah,
I think
they don't. I don't think they race it.
Yeah,
I think they might have raced it in the past, but not anymore. And that's the cool. It's a very cool road to skate.
Yeah, that I've never skated that. I need more
drifting
experience.
That
Yeah.
one's got a lot of tepe in it, like the swoopiness and then the up and downs, and very fun road. A very roller coastery, enjoyable. The first time I went there, I slid off there's like a humpty and then a left turn, and I didn't know that there was a left turn after the humpty, so I come bombing into this, and I'm like riding with Morgan. I'm just like, I'm so good. And then I see we go over the humpty, and I'm seeing Morgan like drifting left, and I'm just like, I'm so late, and just end up sliding straight off the road right there. So
Yeah. There's a tree there that people like to climb up into and watch people fly down the road too. It's kind of towards the end. It's kind of towards where at the parking, because the parking lot is down in the bottom.
Yep.
And there's a tree there. So I hung out kind of in that area and just watched everybody skate, and it was great. And so I met her then. So that was many years ago. And then of course she's at all the Maryhill events and stuff.
Yep.
So and we had been following each other on Instagram for all these years and chatting here and there and stuff. And I wanted a variety, and I wanted to include not just skateboarding. Like, I thought it would be cool if it was gravity sports team, and we have some skateboarders.
It starts
and some
off.
losers.
It starts off with. It starts off small, and it starts off just like you said. You're
Exactly.
all doing gravity sports right now, and you maybe down the road, it progresses to, motocross and skiing. Skiing is a gravity sport as well. I'm just throwing other stuff. There's how badass would it be as well? I'm just throwing out other wheeled activities.
Right.
There's a huge community of roller derby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
I'm kind of thinking, because you know Crystal
Yes.
as well, and she's kind of a badass when it comes to
She is.
quad skating. I
Yes.
want to say quad skating down some of the garages and Maryhill, and so
I know.
I'm kind of looking at her and I'm like, hey, get your friends in on this. This is probably, you guys probably would kick ass at this.
Yeah, well, and I did a lot of roller skating on my road trip.
I saw that. I kind of was like, Marcie, please don't give up longboarding for roller skating, because you started to like ripping around parks and doing stuff like that. And I was like, you go.
Yeah, I have not taken them down Maryhill or any crazy hills or anything. I think
Yet.
Yet. So Crystal's pushed me to do that, but her and I had some fantastic runs at Maryhill, this last Maryhill specifically. And yeah, I can't, the stamina that woman has for going out, because she has to pump sometimes, and kick a little bit. She's not just like on those skates rolling. She's got to give it a little bit of energy to get down the hill.
I've never done it. What do you,
oh my gosh,
explain that to me? Because I mean, like when you're on the longboard, you're just kind of like leaning back and forth. And so when you're on those skates, I just assume little skateboard underneath each foot. And so you can just kind of like lean on your outside edge, lean on your inside edge, but way more to that, I got to assume.
Yeah. So she's still, even the rollerbladers, I noticed they still they do a certain pumping movement to continue to, almost like how we would pump or wiggle to get more speed. They do that all the way down Maryhill. And I'm just like, how?
You're like, how do you do this?
Every run. She was on every run. Like there is no stopping that woman. She's going.
That's what I like to hear. So yeah, Seven Seals Racing starting off this Wednesday. Follow them on Instagram, which is at Seven Seals Racing. Any underscores?
Nope.
All one word?
Correct.
We love it. Typical spelling. Right? Okay,
Yep.
great. You didn't. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So we've got that. And then how do people get in contact with you? Marcie Morgan, or is it Dark Mistress of Speed on Instagram?
It is Dark Mistress of Speed.
Perfect. If you go onto our Instagram, you will see a post coming out very frequently, and it'll have Marcie on this. We'll probably release the photo on Wednesday so that people can see what you're doing. We're going to be promoting you as well, and then the podcast will come out. So hopefully we can drive some people towards what you're doing, because I think that'd be really helpful.
Thank you.
Once again, it costs me nothing. I want to give it away. I want people to benefit from all the stuff, and hopefully someone finds Seven Seals Racing and is like, oh my goodness, this is the person I've always wanted to get into, longboarding down hills. This is my stepping stone between this and becoming the next Cole Trotta.
Yeah. Well, that's part of what's in my plan. I talked to the ladies involved, and I said, I would love to be able to like take the team to even schools, like when they bring all the kids into the auditorium and they do a thing, and they
that
have
would
like
be awesome.
guest speakers. How rad would that be? And I'm surprised, maybe people have done it on a small scale, or like show and tell, bring your dad or something, but I would love to do something like that, and maybe partner with a few different people. I've kicked around a few ideas with Brandon DeJarle, because he's got his school bus and stuff. And I'm like, dude, let's take the skateboards to the school and talk about what we do.
Yes.
And then potentially teach kids how to longboard and street luge and whatever. We need these avenues.
You've got plans. You've definitely... That's my Achilles heel is planning. I'll be very honest. That's my weakness. So you've got some really cool ideas. And then where do you see, I mean, how long do you plan on longboarding? You're like, ooh, a long time.
As long as I can.
Okay, perfect.
As long as I can. I mean, we got Tad up there. He's still rocking and rolling.
Yes, he is.
Which is amazing. As long as I can. That's also why
I feel like you also really want to do it. Like you're like, I not only do I really want to do this for a long time, but I want to do this a lot during the time that I have. Like moving to California during the winter, because right now, Washington sucks for skating. Like it's either everything's covered in wet, soggy leaves, or it's only patchy, wet, soggy leaves. Right. So, it's kind of tough. So moving down to California gives you that opportunity to skate a lot more, which I think a lot of people in Washington look at as like, oh my goodness, the promised land. And so where do you plan on being in California? Southern California?
Yeah, my grandmother lives in Southern California. I have a couple uncles, cousins, and other friends. So, I don't have a specific plan yet. It's going to evolve, but I'm going to go down there. And being that I have my Jeep, I don't need a plan because I can stay wherever I want.
Hell yeah.
So I'm just going for it. This is the craziest thing I think that I've probably ever done, especially since I thought, in all honesty, I thought, oh, I'm not going to skateboard very much anymore. I need to do like adult things and start my.
Well, you got that adult stuff out of the way as a younger person. You were the comptroller for an entire like
franchise
of car dealerships. That is.
Yeah.
Did you do anything at like 22 or 21 or 20? Like at that time of your life, were you like cruising around doing this stuff or no?
No, I mean, I had my kids I had my oldest son when I was 18. So I was a mom always in the.
Oh, you didn't get any fuck off time.
No, none.
Oh, this is so now you've got an even
so
better.
I'm living my life in reverse or something.
But I almost think that's, there's kind of a middle ground of like, you don't want to be 65 with all your money because then you can't really like use it.
Do anything.
And it kind of sucks to be too young because like I took all my fun time when I was like between 20 and before I started the shop, I was jamming, living life, but I had no money. So there were a lot of opportunities that I missed out on purely because of like the financial barrier to like eating
right
in a restaurant. You're like, I can't do that. I have to go to 7-Eleven and get a top ramen and get some of that boiling water. And here we go. The show must go on.
Right. And I just might end up doing that.
I mean, yeah, but you have a Jeep. You don't have, it's different when you're like, I don't have a car and I'm just living like, I don't even want to say paycheck to paycheck, like day to day. You're like, oh, okay, I got to make $14 today. Like I need to eat something. And I know that eggs and bread is going to cost this much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have the skills and the means and the ideas to hopefully be able to generate myself some income while I'm skateboarding is the plan. I definitely don't want to go back into the daily grind.
No,
I can't do that. That's part of the reason why I haven't progressed the way I would like to with skateboarding is because I had to have a crazy full-time job all the time. And then I would just like not skateboard for 6 months out of the year. And then
of course you can't get injured on your time off because then it's going to affect your job that pays all your bills. And so we had a little conversation about this before about like, I'm going to get rid of my, I got rid of my apartment. I'm driving around the Jeep and you're like, well, you have to have a car payment anyway to get to work, but you don't have to necessarily have an apartment. So if you don't have that, now you have a huge, like what's your monthly, and I'm going to use the term like, what's your monthly nut that you have to crack in order to survive? That drops down substantially without, an apartment.
Exactly.
And so now you're like, oh, I don't have to work that much. Maybe I can start doing this. And then, when it becomes easier to hit your monthly nut, then you're more willing to take risks. When it's like a full grind, 160 hours a month, you have to be somewhere just to like have indoor plumbing. And you're like, and then you realize you're like, I don't actually need indoor plumbing. Like I'm going to make it. Once again, like I'm probably not going to die doing this. That's a really good way to live life. It's like, probably not going to die if I decide to move to California and go skateboarding.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and that's what it's going to take. And so I'm planning, some different fundraising events, and then I'll probably go to California sometime in January. Just because, the resources that I have available to me here to hopefully get my very first sponsors for the team, I need to take advantage of that. I actually just stopped and talked to one on my way here today. Excellent. And it was the first person that I spoke to. So, and they were pretty down about it. So
excellent. Can you talk about them right now or no?
Sure. My family has been in the auto industry my whole life. And so this is actually one of the auto dealer auto auctions that I went and spoke to the GM, and he's known me since I was, just like 13, 14 years old. And so, yeah, they're super stoked about it. They want to be a part of it. And so I'm supposed to send him some information via email.
Lil Marcie doing what the entirety of men's downhill hasn't been able to do. Find an outside sponsor.
That's all what I'm all about.
That is beautiful. I've done this a long time, and getting outside sponsorship is the most crucial, important part that has never been done well. Because, We all know skateboard companies.
Right.
Not a lot of, I mean,
Exactly.
love Ronin trucks. Arguably some of the best trucks in the game. Mildly unrealistic to expect Ronin trucks to have the bankroll to do some of the things that you need done.
Right. And yeah, there's just not a lot of money in downhill skateboarding that is available to give away.
But there's a lot of attention given to longboarding downhills. And so like if you can get like, I'm going to use a loose thing, Toyota.
Right.
Or, Secret Life of Walter Mitty. There are some really cool things that like people want to see. Like Apple has used some of the loaded people for their, like the content is there. People want to see the activity, but like, where do you get this, other money? And if you look at things that like, I think are kind of, I look at, are you familiar with what parkour is?
Yes.
Okay. Parkour, phenomenal sponsorships.
Yes.
Money's coming in from everywhere. And at the end of the day, like you guys are just running and jumping around. Like you guys are just like using stairs the wrong way. Like I get it. I love it.
Yeah.
But like, how would you do that? Cause I'm like, you look at someone skating 65 miles an hour down a road and you're like, that's really impressive, man. People should want to pay for that. Then you see like parkour people like spinning around with Red Bull sponsorships and all they're wearing is like baggy sweatpants. I'm like, how you guys nailed it. Like, how did you do this? Teach us your trick.
It's about the presentation.
Once again, that means planning, which, as we talked about 5 minutes ago, my absolute Achilles heel.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just being raised in the industry that I was. And, it's a hustler's industry. And you have to figure
the car
out,
industry?
Yes. And you have to figure out how to get things done. And you have to get creative. And owning your own business, you got to be creative.
I do not think of it that way. Like honestly, the way
really?
oh no.
Okay.
Everything here comes so. I want to say like naturally. I don't think of like, oh, like when I hold like those longboarding events and like a lot of the times, like I'm gonna use that bike path series.
Yeah.
That is done because I'm like, I just want to see all my friends. Like I just want to do that. And then people are like, oh, you're building the community and you're doing this and you're giving people an opportunity to get into the sport. And I'm really like, I don't care about any of that shit. Like it's just tough to get my closest 30 friends together on a Saturday. So I'm going to throw a longboarding event and they're all going to show up. And like selfishly, it's for me, but like it helps a lot of other people out. And then I can do these fun things. And so that's
the ripple effect.
The ripple effect. Yeah. And like starting the business and doing all this stuff, like a lot of people are like, oh, you have a really great selection. Like, how'd you do it? And it's like, I didn't think I was going to have a great selection. I'm just a super big nerd who likes all this stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, like this is just my big collection of Pokemon cards. And people come in and look at it. And sometimes they buy some of my Pokemon cards. But really, like, I think all this stuff is super cool. And you want to talk about, like, your son being super nerdy and, like, a little mechanically minded. Like, I was failing math in high school and tutoring the advanced physics kids.
Oh, wow.
Because I was really good at applying it. But when it was, like, write it down and do stuff,
boring.
like, I can't do that. So, like, for me, it was always like, this is super fun. And so, like, I see a lot of this. And when I hear you talking about planning, having these things, forming an LLC for a women's specific racing team. Yeah. I'm like, fuck. I'm like hearing a lot of this for the first time. Like, damn, Marcie's got her shit together. Like, that's inspiring to me. The same way I see you foot braking at Maryhill, I'm like, damn, that's a skill I don't have, and I can appreciate that because I don't have it. I see what you're doing right now, and I'm also very like, that's a skill I don't have. So when I see it done well, I'm very appreciative of it. And I think that's, like I said, it's really tough to do something. So the fact that you're doing something is worth supporting.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And of course, auto dealer, hopefully they give you some super big lifted truck that you can just like show up to the event and like 4 little ripping girls come out of it and people like, I did not see that coming.
I'm not going to reveal my plan.
Okay,
but
good.
I got one. Yeah, you're on the right track.
Good.
Because that's the thing is I really think that in order to get this sport to where people envision it being, we actually need to do some things that are going to bring it to the next level. And that means that we have to do things differently, and maybe we have to do them drastically different. And so
I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but a little bit of that is like, hey, how do you make it seem a lot cooler than it is? Like, make it look a lot cooler than it is. It doesn't look good when you have like 7 people hop out of a Geo Metro to go skate down a hill.
Right.
There are certain things when you're like, oh man, you see like 55 to 120 skaters hop out of the back of a U-Haul. You're like, it doesn't have the same look as like, if you get up to the top and you see like a bus and people are getting off the bus and you're like, whoa, look how much more. There are certain optics that go along with it. And so if you have a badass team of ladies racing and you guys show up in a monster truck lifted on like 85-inch rims, like People notice immediately.
Thank you. Yes, that's what needs to happen. And I have a really big imagination, and I tend to do the things I imagine. So
do it.
Thank
Don't
you.
let anyone stop you. Even if it's me being like, Marcie, that truck's too big. Your response is be like, damn, that sounds like something someone would say who doesn't have a super big ass truck. Like, that's the only thing. Like, I'm all for it. I think we're getting kind of towards the end of this podcast. I mean, we could do this all night, but eventually I'm gonna have to go home and pet the shit out of my cats because they miss these hands. Give us the plugs. We got Dark Mistress of Speed on Instagram. How else can people connect with you?
Seven Seals Racing on Instagram.
The website is
sevensealsracing.com. If people like to send emails, it's info@sevensealsracing.com. And
ooh, you got it all.
Oh yeah. I am on Facebook. Here's the thing. If you're going to do something, you got to do it right from the get-go, especially if you're doing it so far out of the box. It needs to be on point.
How long has it taken you to get to this point?
A couple weeks.
Okay.
It's been crazy.
It took me a long time to realize that I was going to start this shop, and even longer. Like, we had the shop probably for 3 weeks before I demoed anything because I had so much analysis paralysis of like, oh man, if I do this and then I got to, and I like couldn't actually start. So to hear that you're just like have all this shit going, I'm just like, you're a fucking superhero. Like, how do I once again, it's not my strong suit. So when I see it done well, I'm like, that's impressive.
Yeah, I started it right when I got back from Tepe, and I stayed in California for a week or two after Tepe.
This is kind of an odd question. So the catalyst for this change of you and what you were going to do, going to Wisconsin to be a florist, changed drastically after Tepe, during Tepe, on the way to Tepe. Something with Tepe changed that.
Yep. It was Tepe and tacos that just changed, that flipped my whole world upside down. Literally.
Okay.
Because I did
crash into a hay bale.
Yeah. So
maybe
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I had a vision like,
what some people
John Smith.
Yeah, what
Had a
some people
John Smith
refer
vision.
to as traumatic brain injury. You're like, this is my seer stone. I will.
Yep.
You meant John Smith as in Mormon?
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. I went with the seer stone. Don't worry, I know the reference.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, sorry for the brain injury that caused you to change your life into a wonderful thing. That's awesome to talk about, but I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you are like, yes, I've got a new dog. Please follow the dog as well on Instagram. No new dogs, no new pets.
No pets. I mean, my mom has a pet. She's awfully adorable. It's a kitty too, and it's been my friend lately, but I'm going to have to leave the kitty behind.
Well,
I know. It's a shame.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Don't worry, cats are chill. No,
Yeah.
when you come back, it'll still probably ignore you. That's my favorite, just chasing my cats through my house. Like, let me pet you. No, and then I sit down, and then they come up.
Yeah.
It's very fun. Well, I'm super excited. Wednesday, we're going to check this out. The podcast will be after that. We'll be sharing you. And if anyone can't find Marcie, which you should be able to do because we went over it, Motion Boardshop will send you everything. We'll post your links.
Thank you.
If there's anything you ever need, please ask because I'll try my best to help you out. I love what you're doing. And yeah, when you find out a little bit more about the GGA and you do your Southern California loop, I assume you'll probably be back up for Maryhill at least.
Yeah, I'm going to be here for Maryhill. I got to hit all those qualifiers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So hopefully the next time we talk to you, you're going to be the North American representative for downhill badassery.
That is where it's leading. And I feel like, it's the right move.
And you're
So,
setting yourself up for success. You're going somewhere where longboarding is more easily accessible and you can get better at it based on the people that you're around. So if you go down to California, Garrett got way better at skating going down there. I'm sure the same thing can happen for you as well.
Yeah.
Skating every day versus taking 6 months off is definitely going to be beneficial.
It's going to be a huge difference. Yeah, we almost skated GMR together, but it rained. Like the one day that I know. And it rained and then mudslides and the road was a disaster. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll have to do this when I
Have you ever
back.
skated
This is
GMR?
crazy. No.
Oh,
I've been to GMR multiple times.
very
Morgan.
Ronin thing to do. Let's
Yeah.
go to GMR.
Definitely.
So
So yeah, it'll happen. I've done follow car runs for people at GMR many times, but never skated it myself.
I believe in you. It's a weird one. It's a long road. That's the only reason. When I say it's like I want to say it's like Maryhill, but the corners are just so much different.
Yeah.
It's that like you can grip it and rip it, and I'm like I heard that and I was like, oh, skate Maryhill, I could definitely grip it and rip it, and I went there I was like these corners are much different, and the road's way longer,
and it's banked.
Yeah.
So
really banked.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be a good adventure. But yep, this is what we're doing now, and I just thought to myself, if I want to go and qualify and make it to the World Roller Games, why don't I help other people who want to go and make it to the World Roller Games?
Well, that's very nice of you. Some people may think differently about doing that. Be like, oh, I got to make sure that not as many people try out for these World Roller League games, so I have a better shot of doing it. But I guess that really speaks to your character, as you might potentially be harming your ability to qualify, but you're going to be bringing a bunch more ladies with you, which is, you know,
who wouldn't have had the opportunity potentially otherwise, you know, because of the obstacle of money. I'm confident that I will be there, so not worried.
Well, my confidence is with you as well, and thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you.
And yeah,
All right.
thank you, Kyle. You beautiful,
Thank you.
you beautiful gentleman. You're gonna see this video and you're like, oh my god, he was doing so much. Like I didn't even hear him. He's just silently over there making sure nothing goes wrong. But yeah,
Hopefully nothing went wrong.
that's it.
We'll see.
As always, skate safe and wear your helmet. Marcie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wear my helmet now.
Do you? That's good. I always wear my helmet.